we played the Cavs this week, like we were talking about Donovan Mitchell, and we also played the Clippers. And Jaden Ivey's been getting a lot of praise from these all-stars, these guys that have, won basketball games. A lot of people consider them, the best at their position. So my question to you is, do you think that this is a good confidence booster for Jaden Ivey? Because we all know he was in the doghouse early this year with Monty Williams.
Yep.
Is it good to see guys like a Donovan Mitchell talk to him at the end of the game? A guy like Russell Westbrook, who's won MVP and has been that starting guard, and now he's coming off the bench for the Clippers. Like, do you think that it's good for him at the end of the day to try to get better?
I think the best praise for any young player like an Ivy isn't from your coach. It isn't from your friend, your family, your friends. It's from colleagues. It's from guys that have done it and done it at a high level. And I think Russell Westbrook and Donovan Mitchell, the two biggest stamps you could get because of the type of player he is. Like player comp wise, his athleticism comparable to Russell Westbrook. That was the thing coming out. I know people compared it. I don't think he's completely Russell, but still with his athleticism, I love it. I think this is what Ivy needs. He's playing really well. I mentioned earlier over the last 10 games, he's giving you 24 and 4. He's shooting better from three. I know the turnovers, he had 4 turnovers today, but regardless, that's something that, of course, the young players, especially young guards, like that move at 150% speed like he does, like that's going to be a problem. But I love Ivy. I think he's a future all-star with what he can bring, like his God-given talent on top of the other things he does. I mean, when they really let him orchestrate the offense, it looks great. It does, because he's such a threat with his athleticism, his ability to drive to the basket. Now he's a respectable 3-point shooter. I know his mid-range is it's not where it should be, and I don't think it is close to where it will be. But I think this is everything. It's a stamp on for Ivy, and I think this is a confidence booster for him moving forward, because I still believe, and call me crazy, I think Ivy and Cade can work. I think they can work. The biggest thing for Ivy, though, it has to be playing, or it has to be his 3-point shot, his 3-point percentage. Can he get it, 35, 36%? I know he's shooting about 33, 34, which is fine. But I love the thought of those two sharing a backcourt. I think Ivy's going to be a fantastic player. So the fact that Donovan Mitchell and Russell Westbrook see it too, it's a great thing.
Yeah, I think they see the potential. Like they see the all-star potential in him.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people are comparing him to Ja. I think it was just because of the haircut. I really do. Like when I watched Ivy, like I saw flashes of a little bit of Victor Oladipo before he had his injuries in Indiana. Like that's a player that I thought he could be comparable. And like you look at those Indiana Pacer teams with Victor Oladipo, he was averaging 30 points a game, and he was like the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're starting to see that, though. You're starting to see the confidence. You're starting to see him attack the basket. Like his first step, he did it a bunch tonight. He's just such a fast, twitchy guard that he's just a blur to try to stay in front of. Transition, he's a nightmare. The 3-point shot, I know a lot of people, that was a knock on him coming out of college. He was not a good 3-point shooter, and he's worked on it. I think the Bally broadcast today said he's shooting over 40% from 3, which that's pretty damn good over that stretch. Like that's really good for a guy that was quote unquote a weak 3-point shooter. I know people get into debates. I know they're debating in the chat right now. Cade and Ivy don't work together. Like they just don't gel well together. And I just don't think we've seen enough of it. And it's kind of been availability on Cade's end, and that's not his fault. Injuries happen. But I think you saw tonight, like Jaden Ivey was bringing the ball up the court and Cade was playing off ball. And Cade had a pretty decent game tonight. I mean, I've never seen him miss 2 free throws. Like that was the first for me. Like he missed like both of them. And I think his knee is still bothering personally. I saw him with the ice pack on his knee tonight. So I hope everything's good there with Cade. But it is good to see, all-star players like that, give him praise and, give him his flowers, because they don't want to see him just, go down that road where he just has no confidence in himself. Like Russ said that, he was like, I kind of took him under my wing this past summer. Like we're working out together. Donovan Mitchell's just like, yeah, it's like some people told me about him and, how good he is. And we have the same agent. So, we connected that way. So I just wanted to talk about it for a little bit. I know there's basically nothing to talk about this time of year.
Yeah, well, it's kind of and to the point about the his colleague giving him praise. It reminds me when Cade got praise from Kevin Durant or just the Pistons in general. But players 2 years ago, when Cade was playing really well and he should have won Rookie of the Year, I still believe that. But he was balling the second half of the season. Everybody was praising Cade, and that is true. Like the confidence, that's everything. If you lose your confidence, you have nothing. Like it's hard enough. These guys have to go out there and be confident every night, especially with Ivy, where he can have sometimes he can be inconsistent. Like as long as he's confident, the shots are going to fall eventually. Like you mentioned, over the last 10 games, he's shooting 40% from three, and it's funny because he had a quote earlier this year. And I loved it because the big thing coming out of the draft was like, oh, he needs the ball constantly in his hands, which I do believe. Listen, Cade and Ivy, if you're a great guard, you need the ball in your hands. It's not like a scientific thing. Now, Ivy said he plays comfortable. He can play off ball when needed, but it seemed like he was never getting the ball, which was a problem. So it's finding a balance between those two, and it's hard because last year it was Ivy's team completely. No Cade. He's out there running the show. The year prior, it was Cade's team. He's out there running the show. And then this season, those two are just thrown together with all they have is both a season under their belt of being the guy. It's going to take some time. And of course, being with Cade getting hurt with that knee injury and being out some time, it sucks. So I agree with you. I think availabilities hurt them or their ability to be able to gel because I do think they complement each other. I do. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but I like the idea of those two in your backcourt or even how like Cade eventually playing some small forward, which I think he can still do. But those two, I certainly think can play together because you see Ivy's shot improving. Like he's done a great job with that.
Said that last week and I got so much hate for it. I know some people in the comments like they agreed with me. Like I had said, play Cade in that Jayson Tatum role, like at the small forward, because I think Cade is more than capable of playing point guard. I think he's more than capable of playing shooting guard. If you want to play him shooting guard, you can. He did it tonight. But I'm more intrigued of having a fast point guard like Ivy running the show. And the turnovers, I will admit, they are frustrating, like the no-look passes that he had tonight. I think if he watches more film and he slows down, he doesn't have to, do stuff like that 100% of the time. Like I said, it looks great when he doesn't turn the ball over, but I think I'm more intrigued to see Ivy run the show versus Cade because I think the play style is a little bit more simplistic. Where with Cade, it's slowed down. It's more methodical. Cade likes that mid-range game where Ivy just likes attacking the basket and kicking it out. And I think that benefits the personnel that we have now. Like, the vets like, Alec Burks, Bojan, even saw, Asar hit a three tonight. I think it just benefits more of having Ivy play the point guard, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Ivy, like I mentioned earlier, his athleticism opens up the floor for others. It just does. Like he's such a threat. He's going to blow by the first defender. Someone's going to have to come over to help, and that opens up shots. Now, with Cade's play style, I think the Tatum thing, it's funny because Chris Platty said he was Tatum-esque, and he got roasted for it, but I think there's some truth to that. Like, maybe not direct play style, but to your point, like how they like to play, how they both like to score. I know Tatum's a better three-point shooter. I get all of that, but him playing that Tatum role, I don't mind it. I think Ivy, he's an underrated point guard. Like he's an underrated playmaker. And I do think Ivy as a defender, although he hasn't been great, he has the tools to be a much better defender, better. The athleticism, the size, the wingspan, he does. So they're both unfinished products. But I think eventually, hopefully, they get to a point where, like you said, you can have more Ivy running the show there, and Cade just strictly being in some instances playing off ball and just scoring the basketball because he can do that at a high level.